the cup used by Christ at the Last Supper. Welcome to the second day of my city break here in Valencia. And what a beautiful day. 27 degrees again, they reckon. I'll have that any day, lovely and warm. But I found these delightful gardens. And there's a duck pond here as well, and got geese and other aquatic birds. And it's next to the Natural History Museum here in this park. It really is absolutely delightful walking around. And I even spotted a statue to Walt Disney. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but it was nice to see that in the park. But in this video I'm going to head up to the cathedral, one of the big attractions here in the old part of the city, and discover one of the most famous artifacts in religious history, probably the most famous artifact. And along the way we'll discover some of the history of Valencia. We'll discover one of the former entrance gates, the Torres de Sarranos, which is quite a magnificent structure. And we'll talk more about the Turia, the former riverbed, and the floods that occurred here back in 1957. So I'll leave you with some more pictures of the gardens. I'll head up towards the Turia. Those gardens. Spent a lot longer than I actually wanted to. I was watching the cat. A cat had got into one of the enclosures and was watching the birds. I don't know if it's eyeing up the birds as breakfast or just having fun watching them. If my cat's anything to go by, you'd probably sit there and watch them for hours. Bless him. But I'm on the old bridge now, which leads down to the Torres de Sarranos, the old entrance gate into the walled city of Valencia. Absolutely fantastic looking at this. They've preserved this really well. But this old bridge goes over the Turia. This is the river that used to run around the city wall. There's a lovely old photograph taken in, or a picture illustration, taken in 1832, which shows the river and the entrance gate. Well, all of them actually, because there used to be 12 entrance gates into the old city of Valencia. They were pulled down in 1865. Just imagine this city if they had been kept. I guess they'd fall into disrepair and it was too costly to repair them, I guess. Or perhaps there were other reasons, I don't know. But what they have preserved is this beautiful gatehouse. Absolutely fantastic. But this bridge is interesting as well. It's remarkably well preserved and is one of the busiest entrances into the old city of Valencia. You can imagine over the years all the people that have traversed this bridge by foot or on horse and cart. But it stands today on a dry riverbed, because back on the 14th of October 1957 the river burst its banks. And there are numerous old photographs which show this area under flood, and most of the old town as well, or the old city. Great shame when this happens. But the river was diverted. They diverted the course of the river, and now the riverbed is dry, and it's beautiful gardens here, and they've preserved all the old bridges over the river, including this one, and it's in absolutely fantastic condition. But I've come here to look at this entrance gate, so let's walk on down and take a closer look. Construction began in 1392, and it really is in remarkably good condition. The towers are designed to be defensive structures into the old city, and they certainly do that. You can see the groove for the portcullis, and the doors, they are just incredible, about 9 inches thick, and really impressive. Amazing they survived all this time. But even on the ceiling there's a murder hole, so anybody who was trapped inside here, anybody who attacked this gatehouse or had the intention of attacking the gatehouse and was trapped inside between the portcullis and the door, well, they would have been fired on from above by the murder hole, the hole in the ceiling. And the rest of the ceiling here is absolutely fantastic. You can see up all the way into the towers, the area between the towers. And a blocked up doorway as well. That would have given access to the guards in the towers to go up and say do their guard duties. But it really is absolutely fantastic looking at this from the outside. So now let's go inside and take a look. Only €2 to get in. I thought it was rather reasonable. I was expecting at least 4 or 5. You can see up here the ground floor below, in between the 2 towers. You can see the slot for the portcullis. But looking up here at the architecture, was there a portcullis here? Maybe they designed it to put one in mind, but it's still very interesting looking up here, looking at all the stonework, and it is remarkably well preserved given the age of the building. And even the ticket office area downstairs was remarkably well preserved. You can see the ornate ceiling and the windows with the arrow slits looking out into the countryside around. Very defensive, very difficult to fire in with arrow slit windows, and easy to fire out. It's absolutely lovely up here, it really is. But I want to climb to the top of the tower and get some views, so let's do that. And there's another room just on the side here. And again, you can look out and you can see the arrow slit windows, similar to the ones that were downstairs in the ticket office area. But this gatehouse is unlike others that I've seen, because this one's open at the back. Now, whether it's been changed architecturally over the years, I don't know, but it's interesting to take a look at. I know it was used as a prison from 1586 until 1887, and that was in the ground floor area, so probably where the ticket office is now, unless there's another area which is not open to the public. But it's interesting and remarkably well preserved in here, given the age of the structure. So let's go up the stairs and see what we can discover on the upper level. Do get a nice view looking down. There we go. And right at the top, there we go. Ooh. A nice little view overlooking the square behind. That's quite delightful up here. Now let's head up to the upper level and get a view overlooking the Turia. Now, I've been having a look round here, and I can't help thinking that the gatehouse was actually built and designed in this way. There's a lot of Islamic influence in southern Spain around 700-800 years ago, and judging by the Mediterranean climate as well, I'm fairly sure that they would have built it this way, with an open back to allow the air through, the breeze, just as there is today. It really is absolutely beautiful up here. And the upstairs here on the roof, Again, it's fortified, and there's some arrow slits on the walls. Again, showing this structure as being defensive. It's amazing just how different this gatehouse is compared to the one in Lisbon that I visited a few months ago. But it's the views that I've come to see. So I'll leave you with some views overlooking Turia, the Turia, and the city of Valencia. But I did enjoy walking around that gatehouse. Such a shame that they didn't have any exhibitions on the ground floor to show some of the history of the gate and the city walls. But it was interesting to look at the architecture, and quite different from other gatehouses that I visited in Europe. But I've arrived at the cathedral, or St Mary's Cathedral to give it its full name. It was consecrated by the Bishop of Valencia, Father Andreu Albalat, in 1238. Yes, 1238. But most of what we see today is 13th and 15th century. And it's the cathedral which is one of the reasons I've come to Valencia. Not for my love of walking around cathedrals, look at the interior architecture and the opulence around the high altar, but it's for one object which is housed within the cathedral, and that's the Holy Grail, the cup used by Jesus at the Last Supper, and it's housed inside the cathedral in one of the side chapels. So let's go inside and take a look. The Holy Grail. In front of me is the altar, and behind the altar is the holiest relic in the Christian world, the cup used by Christ at the Last Supper. It's certainly of the type, a small Jewish blessing cup that would have been used by Jesus, or one very like it, at the Last Supper. Is this the actual Holy Grail? History says yes, but history has a way of substituting the truth with fiction. But as it's here in the church, in the cathedral here in Valencia, and as a Christian, I have to believe that what I'm looking at is the only tangible item on earth that links me to Jesus. Because I'm looking at something that he used, he touched. And that is incredible. It's a beautiful little chapel here, it really is. And the carvings around the altar are so ornate. Absolutely beautiful. And the first mention of a grail, well, it was mentioned by the ecclesiastical chronicler back in the 13th century. A man called Hilinandus, also known as Hilinand of Freudmont. Now the Latin word gradale translates into French as Grial or Grail in English. And it is absolutely beautiful. The cup was given to the cathedral by King Alfonso V of Aragon in 1436. And I want to believe that what I'm looking at is the cup of Christ. It is beautiful. It really is. And the reason I've come to Valencia is to see the Holy Grail. Fantastic time just walking around the cathedral and seeing the relic, the Holy Grail. It was just incredible to see it. Really is absolutely beautiful to see an item that's been preserved for the 2,000 years. But it wasn't the only relic in there. They also had an arm on display as well at the back of the altar area. It's a relic of the martyr of St. Vincent, who was martyred in the year 304, or St. Vincent of Saragossa, or the deacon of the Church of Saragossa, to give him his title. And he's the patron saint of Valencia, and also the patron saint of Lisbon as well. So it's very interesting to see his arm on display. Relics were big business in the Middle Ages, and if you owned a genuine relic, it was an item to be prized. It really was interesting to see it. I've seen some interesting items in churches, from funeral wagons to skulls. But seeing those two relics was just absolutely amazing. And seeing the Roman remains underneath as well. And that skull looking eerily in my direction. Absolutely wonderful to see that. Roman remains under the cathedral. And I've stopped off at this little restaurant. I've ordered a Valencian Paella, chicken paella, and it looks absolutely delicious. Oh, that does taste so good. And it tastes even better because it's been sponsored as well. So thank you to Becky, who went onto the Buy Me a Coffee link, which you'll find in the description, and purchased several coffees. That was very kind of you indeed, so thank you very much, which allowed me to buy this tasty paella and a little beer. Nice alcohol-free beer. I try not to have alcohol at lunchtime because it makes my brain go squiffy. But there we go. So if you'd like to get a mention on my channel, then do as Becky did and use the Buy Me a Coffee link, and I'll enjoy a tasty lunch somewhere on my travels. But this is where I end the video. Tomorrow I'm going somewhere completely different. Have a fun day out, and I'll tell you all about that tomorrow. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow my journey, because there's definitely plenty more to come on this trip and others planned for this year. So, cheers, Becky. Dice eso, dice